and welcome to Book Nook. I'm Lynn Kessler with Read Aloud, West Virginia. We're here to read some stories today and also listen to some music that tells a story. And joining me to play music for you and to read you a story is Pam Murchison of the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra. Hi, Pam.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about the show today.
Me too.
Okay, so you are a musician with the Symphony, the West
I am.
Virginia Symphony Orchestra, and also the development director.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you do there.
As a musician, I get to be a part of our great orchestra, and some of my best friends are members of the orchestra, and so we get to work together to play music at the Clay Center and different educational programs throughout the year, and in a couple of weeks we'll be at Symphony Sunday down at University of Charleston. And as development director, I get to help make connections and build relationships with our community and work with our team to raise funds for the organization.
To kind of preserve this music and this thing that you love to do.
Yeah, we do.
That's a good combination.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us, you mentioned Symphony Sunday, and that is coming up on
June 5th.
June 5th.
1 o'clock, the festivities start, the Ellen's ice cream and all that sort of stuff. And there will be, it's a great community celebration. We'll have musical acts throughout the entire day on the main stage and on the second stage, which is near the Ellen's ice cream. I'm a big fan of Ellen's ice cream.
It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. And she was a flutist in the orchestra for a long time too. So I got to sit, she sat right here for the first 7 years I played.
Okay.
It's a real gift.
So she's one of those friends that you
She
played
is,
with.
yes, absolutely. And then the West Virginia Symphony has an 8 o'clock concert right across the river from the Capitol, followed by fireworks. And this is, I think, the 34th year. It's one of the musicians' favorite events, the community's favorite events, and the West Virginia Symphony League works very, very hard to make this our gift to the community. So they give so much to us, we like to give back.
Yeah, I know families, I have not been, but I know families that I know who have attended really, really love it, and hopefully we'll get to come this year because it does sound like a great time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we talked a little bit about, before the interview, about how music tells a story just like a book tells a story.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how music and books intertwine for you in life, or music and stories.
Yeah. Well, I started playing the flute when I was 6. My best friend's mom was a flute teacher, and so we had group lessons and did all sorts of really cool musical activities. And I also remember, my dad every night before bed reading to me Heidi and Black Beauty and Little Women and all those really great books. So I have those memories from about the same time. And there's a lot of music out there that is just beautiful in its own right, and it's not necessarily about anything other than being beautiful, and we can bring to it what we like. I'm feeling sad today. I remember this event, whatever that may be.
Create your own story or remembrance as you listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, anytime we can sort of gather around a memory of something really beautiful, that's important. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But there is a lot of music, like The Sorcerer's Apprentice or the Firebird suite, that tell a particular story. Some of them are folklore or fairy tales. There's music about Paul Bunyan and Babe and the Blue Ox. And so I think that we can have that guideline that helps us have our own version of the story. My version of Babe the Blue Ox might be a little bit different from yours. So so I think it's really interesting that there's sort of both kinds out there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you associate the, reading with your dad as a child and the way stories play into music, because really it can be the same bond that we encourage people to read with their kids, because it forms that bond between the child and the parent or the adult, whoever it may be, and the book, and then the children associate those positive feelings of, spending quality time and comfort and love with reading books, which is beneficial to them, as they go into their educations. And I think it's the same way with music. If, it's something that we do together, it brings us closer. And so when we do that together with people we love, then that same association is built. And music is a wonderful part of education. And really, I think you can maybe tell us more about how it prepares a child's mind to learn and helps them in that way.
Oh, sure. And, you know, some of the earliest stories we learn, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, you know, are told through song.
Right.
I taught kinder music for a baby class,
Yeah.
which was just very special. And I mean, I think our ears and our brains are ready to perceive music before even words or vocabulary. And
Right.
so music is such an incredibly powerful delivery tool. And I was at an event not too long ago, and it was with grown-ups, and I sang the sit and form a circle, 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 because it was just chaos and nobody, and it was the type of group that you could do that. And, you know, these grown men were like, sure, I'll sit and form a circle. And it just the very special way that our ears take in the musical information, I think. I mean, there's just no other delivery method that's better.
Right.
So,
yeah, and there's science behind it.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, we do recommend to people who have young children, toddlers, you know, who are reluctant to sit and read, who are kind of, you know, a kid on the go and they don't have time, they don't want to sit and be still, to read nursery rhymes and even books with songs, like there are book versions of the Itsy Bitsy Spider and these kinds of things, because that catches their attention. When they hear that, the repetition and the rhythm and the musical qualities in the books, they stop and listen.
Well, and I think that attention and that focus is something that, I mean, when you're starting out, you play songs that are this long, and I mean, we just finished up a piece, Mahler's Ninth Symphony, that was an hour and a half, which I mean, even as long as I've been playing, is challenging to sort of attend and focus and be in that world for that long. Yeah. And I mean, so that's something that we see with reading too, right? We start with little board books, and then we eventually go on to tomes, you know, so yeah.
There's a lot of interesting correlations there.
Yes.
And you are going to tell us a little bit and show us a little bit how music can tell a story.
Oh, sure.
And the book you're going to read from today is, well, you can tell us the book. Tell us what you're going to read from today.
I love the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And there's a sort of, the flutists tend to be sort of more social of the instrumentalists. We like to travel in herds and packs, and, you know, the more the merrier. And that's why there's so many of us in a band, I think. And so I really love the idea of Pooh and all of his friends, and how everybody sort of brings something a little bit different to the table. And of course, that it's all in Christopher Robin's imagination, that this life that he's given to all of his friends. So there's a wonderful piece of music called Four Pooh Stories that was written by a composer friend of mine, Maria Grenfell. She is from New Zealand, and her sister is a flutist, Julia Grenfell. She's a fabulous flutist. And so Maria wrote this piece for her sister based on these stories that they loved as children. So I thought what we could actually do is maybe meet all the characters.
That would be great.
Before we move on to a specific story about Piglet and Pooh.
That would be great.
So, of course, at the center of all these stories is our friend Christopher Robin. And when we meet him in this story, he's sort of marching through the forest off to meet Pooh and everybody else. So. So I think we can hear Christopher Robin sort of marching along, and the first friend he meets is Piglet. So he's sort of bright and jumpy. Pooh's a little slower on the search for honey, so we meet Pooh next. Now he's going to look for his honey jar. so we meet Piglet, we meet Pooh, and then Kanga and Roo.
Okay.
So Kanga's the big kangaroo, Roo is her baby, so we're going to hear a loud bouncing kangaroo and then a soft little kangaroo representing the baby.
Okay. Okay.
And then Owl and Eeyore.
Okay.
So Owl is, again, sort of very wise and dignified, and Eeyore's sort of always got a case of the Mondays, a little sad, and so hopefully we'll hear that in the music. So here's Owl. Let's see if I can make Eeyore sound different. And then they just all meet up and they go marching through the woods together. So that's where we meet Christopher Robin and all the friends marching through Pooh Corner.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Your
thanks.
friend did an excellent job of capturing their spirits and their characters, I think.
Well, good.
And you did a wonderful
so.
job playing it.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Okay, so you are going to play some more for us in a little bit, but for now you're going to read us a story from the Complete Tales of Winnie the Pooh. And what was the name of the story you're going to read again?
This is the tale in which Pooh and Piglet nearly catch a woozle.
Okay.
So we'll get to meet those characters again.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. Let's get started.
Okay. Today we're reading from The Complete Tales of Winnie the Pooh by A.A.Milne with illustrations by Ernest Shepard. And today we're going to hear the story in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and the piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin asked the piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't be called Trespassers W, and Piglet said yes you could because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had had two names in case he lost one, Trespassers after an uncle and William after Trespassers. I've got two names, said Christopher Robin carelessly. Well, there you are, that proves it, said Piglet. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking round and round in a circle, thinking of something else when Piglet called to him, and he just went on walking. Hello, said Piglet. What are you doing? Hunting, said Pooh. Hunting what? Tracking something, said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. Tracking what? Said Piglet, coming closer. That's just what I ask myself. I ask myself, what? What do you think you'll answer? I shall have to wait until I catch up with it, said Winnie the Pooh. Now, look there. He pointed to the ground in front of him. What do you see there? Tracks, said Piglet. Paw marks. He gave a little squeak of entertainment. Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle? It may be, said Pooh. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You can never tell with paw marks. With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What's the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very strange thing," said Bear, "but there seem to be 2 animals now. This, whatever it was, has been joined by another, whatever it is, and the 2 of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said that he had nothing to do until Friday and would be delighted to come in case it really was a woozle. "You mean in case it really is 2 woozles," said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday. So off they went together. There was a small spinney of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if the 2 woozles, if that's what they were, had been going round this spinney. So round this spinney went Pooh and Piglet after them, Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather Trespassers W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespassers W had suffered in the later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest. And Pooh wondered what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was 2 grandfathers they were after now, and, if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. And still the tracks went on in front of them. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. "Look!" "What?" said Piglet with a jump. And then, to show he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or two in an exercising sort of way. "The tracks," said Pooh. "A 3rd animal has joined the other 2. "Pooh!" cried Piglet. "Do you think it is another woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It's either 2 woozles and 1 as it might be whizzle, or 2 as it might be whizzles and 1, if so it is, woozle. Let us continue to follow them." And so they went on, feeling just a little anxious now in case the 3 animals in front of them were of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were there instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious now than ever before in his life. There were 4 animals in front of them. "Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks. 3 as it were woozles, and 1 as it was whizzle. Another woozle has joined them." And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks, crossing over each other here, getting muddled up there with each other, but quite plainly every now and then the tracks of 4 sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort, "I think that I have just remembered something. I have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "We'll do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you," said Pooh. "It isn't the sort of thing you can do in an afternoon," said Piglet quickly. "It's a very particular morning thing, and it has to be done in the morning, and if possible between the hours of—" "What would you say the time was?" "About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun. "Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me—" "What's that?" Pooh looked up to the sky, and then as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree, and then saw a friend of his. "It's Christopher Robin," said Winnie the Pooh. "Ah, then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye." And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of danger all again. Christopher Robin came slowly down his tree. "Silly old bear," he said, "what were you doing? First you went round the spinney twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went round together again, and then you were going round a 4th time." "Wait a minute," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought in the most thoughtful way he could. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh. "I see now," said Winnie the Pooh. "I have been foolish and deluded," said he, "and I am a bear of no brain at all." "Why, you're the best bear in all the world," said Christopher Robin soothingly. "Am I?" said Winnie the Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyhow, it is very near luncheon time," so we went home for it. And that's the story in which Piglet and Pooh go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. And one of my favorite things to do is tell a story through music, so I have another section that tells the story in a musical way. So I hope you could hear Piglet and Winnie going round and round trying to find the woozle and the whizzle. And I hope you'll join us at Symphony Sunday on June 5th for some more musical storytelling. And in the meantime, you can find this and other books at your local library. Thank you so much.